chance to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it, up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
All right, welcome back. We're coming off last week with a pretty doom and gloom podcast. The three of us were pretty upset.
I'm still upset.
It was
the first loss recap in the history of the 28-3 podcast.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's not a good moment.
But coming off of that, I think, we're recording on Thursday, so yesterday we got the good news that I guess Carr, essentially day to day, week to week, whatever you want to call it, brought up that Drew Brees ran into this a few years ago, didn't practice all week, and actually suited up for the game and played pretty well. So my spirits have been lifted. The season's back on the table, and now we can go back to complaining about the offensive line for another 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking – the Carr news was great because I think when we were sitting here on the recap episode, it was, we lost, but also – who the hell knows? Because it looked bad. I mean, it looked bad on Sunday, and I'm still mad about Gary's tackle on Carr. I had a few friends make fun of me, like, he shouldn't have done that. That was mean. Well, it was mean, okay? He jumped up in the air and slammed on the ground. That was mean. And so I'm still pissed about that.
Corey has feelings, too.
Come on. But anyway, the point is, good news about Carr, that it's an AC, not a separation or any other injury that Nick knows about. But I was looking for any glimmer of hope out of the O-line, out of all the updates from Saints camp this week, and not really much other than them saying, we're going to try to do better.
Well, let me ask you this: what were you expecting, or should I say, hoping for, on that front?
Oh, well, it's not that. No, you make a good point. I mean, I guess we're not going to know.
I mean, they're not going to sign somebody off the street right now.
I don't think they should sign anybody.
Well, there's nobody to sign.
Maybe
Lyle Collins is out there.
Yeah, but what's he going to do? He's going to take a Ramchek's spot? The guy plays right tackle.
No, I wasn't about to say they should sign somebody. Look, this is going to be like a complete fan hope and a prayer type take where, these guys are the professionals, we're the fans, so they're going to handle it how they're supposed to handle it. Sometimes as fans, we want to see a little more anger, a little more like being pissed off out of these guys. They interviewed James Hurst in the locker room, and he's like smiling through half his interview, like, it's on us. Well, no shit, it's on you. You're the one fucking up. But but you bring up a good point. I mean, like, what else were we gonna see? I just pray to God we see something better, just incrementally better, this coming week. But
yeah, I think the biggest thing is I really hope that Pete stays in the starting lineup. I think he is a definite upgrade over Hurst. There's a reason that Pete, as much as we bag on him, he's been voted to Pro Bowls over his career. He's a proven run blocker. He has his difficulty. The problem with Pete is his big misses have been in the spotlight because they result in catastrophic injuries.
Right.
Drew Brees a couple years ago when he hurt his hand by hitting Pete's helmet.
Yep, because Pete got pushed back into
it. The lasting image is Pete getting shoved back and then Brees' hand bouncing off of his helmet. So I guess, we've covered it. It's all about the contract with Pete. If he hadn't been grossly overpaid as an offensive guard, we wouldn't have this disdain for him that most of the fan base does. Because the reality is Pete is a rock-solid left guard. Now, we don't need to litigate this. We've been over it a million times. I just want to go back to my original point in that I think Pete needs to stay in the starting lineup. Hurst needs to get the fuck out. Like, the guy, he's the oldest offensive lineman that we're currently starting, and I think he's the oldest offensive lineman on the team. And to be honest with you, he looks pretty washed up this year. So I'd like to see Pete stay in that role. Penning's, look, he had an awful week one. He's trending upward. Not that there was any other direction for him to go.
Yeah, last week, I think it's an even graded out halfway decent, I guess, on, PFF and some of the sites we all love so much. But the penalties. So he played better, but then he had 3 penalties that crushed drives. And We
Yeah.
need him. We need him to keep getting better and start to clean that stuff up too. So
they're in the enviable position of having to make sure they don't fuck up, but also play like they're not trying to fuck up. Because Hurst actually said it in his press conference. He's like, I think this is the one decent thing I took from it. He said a lot of us have been essentially thinking a lot, trying to make sure we're in the right spot, have the right slides, protections, coverages, rather than just getting on the field and playing.
Okay, so then...
And so it's kind of like, okay, good. I was like, oh, good, that's good. So you're recognizing something you can do different.
Well,
okay.
but time out. Why are they all of a sudden overthinking it?
Well,
Is it Doug Marrone?
And that came up a lot this week. It's like,
Well, that's the first thing. I don't know if I texted it to the group or if I just sent it to Nick. Like, my theory was Doug Marrone is the issue. We brought him back last year in the offseason, and the offensive line, let's be honest, wasn't very good last year. Now, granted, there were some injuries and injuries all over the offense as well, so we kind of gave him a pass.
And they weren't exactly...
This year, everybody's healthy, man. Like, what the fuck? Why are these guys regressing? These are all first or second round picks.
Yeah.
Like, let's go left to right. You got Penning, first round pick. Hurst, I think, was a second or third round pick. McCoy was a second. Pete was a first. So Ruiz was a first. Ramczyk was a first. Like, there's no reason for these guys in years 3, 4, 5, some of them later, to be regressing to where they're, quote unquote, overthinking what's going on. Like Penning, again, I'm willing to give Penning a pass. This is basically that was the 5th game I think he's ever started in the NFL. So I'm fine taking lumps with him. He's getting a little bit better. He needs to get better faster.
You invest in him, you can't not play him and give him a shot.
Yeah. I think that the issues are obviously there. And there's only so much more I think we can say. But, you have to look to the coaching. We've gone over ad nauseum how it's not the physical talent that's the issue with these guys.
Then that screams coaching.
And so the last place to look to is coaching. And you got to wonder what's going on the coaching room. So, we could talk about offensive line woes all night. After all, this is our Saints Buccaneers preview pod. So let's go with this. Besides the O-line, we already know what they have to do this week. What do you, between the two of y'all, or we can go around the horn, who do we think has to stand out for our team, or what do we think has to happen?
The offensive line. They got to be fucking competent this week to win.
That's what I'm saying. But besides them,
I don't think anything else matters at this point, because if the offensive line isn't going to do their basic job of blocking in the running game and blocking in the passing game, we're not going to win.
Okay. So do you think if they do their job just at a mediocre level, which has not even happened yet this season, do you think we're straight? If
they get to the league median, just be at like the number 15 or 16 run blocking and pass blocking unit, then yes, I think we should win the game.
I think then it all falls on Jameis if he's
that's what I'm getting at. Like, so if the offensive line is straight, what else then do you need to see?
But we have to say the offensive line is the catalyst. We said this in our season preview episode. We said it in episodes leading up to it. This offense is going to go as far as the offensive line takes them. And
they've played
the
2 good halves.
Taking them anywhere.
Okay, so let's say the offense.
They played 2 good halves in 3 games. That's what they played. 2 second halves.
If the offensive line plays perfectly, it then moves to what? You take it, Nick.
Oh, we win easily if they play perfectly.
I wouldn't say that.
There's still a guy with the ball in his hand on every play.
To me, it falls to Jameis at that point. The offensive line's not going to play perfectly.
Right, we know that.
We know that. And we've got a quarterback in there who loves just throwing the ball when he's getting hit, when he's in a bad situation. It doesn't faze him a bit to throw it out there anyway. I think that's the big factor. If he can just not do that and not lose this game, I think we still have a pretty good shot. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people watched the Philly game. It was embarrassing. They had 96 yards in the fourth quarter. They were being out yardage 400 to 90 something. And that's a very good team, but they shouldn't have been on that field. It was bad. Yeah. Baker couldn't complete a pass. They weren't getting any third downs. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't do anything until the fourth quarter kind of mop-up time. Scored wasn't really indicative because Jalen had a couple interceptions, one down in the red zone and in a second one. So, I think I'm not going to say it's all offensive line, but obviously the one you want to see step up is I'd love to see a big package for AK. Does getting those quick things in the flat and those option routes we saw Olave run, we talked a lot about that in one of the pods. Him running those routes, does that neutralize that pass rush a little bit? Because we haven't been able to do anything to keep them from just coming straight through us.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think with AK, the key is going to be short, quick passes. Use them. The play we all referenced in week 1 where Olave motioned to the backfield and then they flared him out. Like
option/angle route.
Stuff like that with Kamara. Have him get a couple of quick hitters. That'll slow down the pass rush. We've got the speedsters on the outside who we know can beat just about any corner who's going deep. You got Michael Thomas who should be able to eat in the middle of the field. What I want to see this week, aside from the offensive line, I want to see the tight ends. Yeah. Give me a tight end doing something.
Juwan has been
because aside from
criminally
Jimmy Graham
underused.
catching the touchdown last week, the tight ends have been non-existent in this offense, which is ridiculous when you think about the fact that we have Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Jimmy Graham. No matter what order you put them in, that is a hell of a trio. Yeah. Why have they done nothing this year?
Yeah, I mean they did. Pete Carmichael had media availability, and he did mention that. And I think it was kind of a cop-out on his part, to be honest, because he said, well, we want to get Juwan more touches. We absolutely want to get him the ball in his hands more, but I think in these first few weeks, a lot of the reasons he wasn't getting it was because, or him or other tight ends, because they were being used in protection. And it's like they weren't being used in protection on every possible passing snap they had,
right.
So that was a bit of a cop-out, but that brings me to my, it's a good segue for what I think is the key, with the assumption that the offensive line even plays to a medium. And I'm also working on the assumption that we're going to have Jameis, that Carr's I know he's optimistic, and I just don't see it happening. So with the assumption that it's Jameis, and maybe even Carr, to me, this whole game falls on one guy, and that guy's Pete Carmichael. Because if your offensive line actually shows up, or at least plays better a little bit, then our success, whether we win or not, is 100% up to whether or not Pete Carmichael has the balls to actually call a regular game plan to his standards with Jameis under center. Because, like we said, the O-line can do...
Well, time out. You say his standards. Carmichael has no fucking standards at this point.
The Carmichael Sean Payton offensive standards. The quick moving.
So real quick. You want him to call as if Jameis is not the quarterback this week?
I want him to call it as Jameis, but
I will
blow a gasket if you're suggesting that we keep doing our run, throw a hitch route. It's 4th down again, punt.
I would absolutely do that game plan this week.
Bullshit. That is horrible. I heard a stat earlier today. We've had, I think, we've run the ball 13 times on first down so far this year, or 13 or 15.
How many times?
Nine of those times.
How many times have we passed?
That's not relevant to what I'm about to say.
It's pretty relevant.
Not to what I'm about to say. 9 of those times we gained 1 yard or less. That's hard to do. That's fucking horrible. So, I mean, if Carmichael wants to do the gain a yard on first down shit because Jameis is your quarterback and you're like, he's got to dial it up. I mean, either Jameis can do it or he can't. Because we're not going to win with hitch routes and not pushing the ball down the field, not getting exotic with motion or screen routes or, using AK and Olave in multiple different ways. If we just line up, 2 in the backfield, tight end, 2 wideouts, or, look, we put it in a slot receiver. There's no motion. Jameis, please just don't screw up, Jameis. We saw that shit last year. It did not work. All I wanted, if Pete Carmichael cannot show that he can just dial up a game the way he needs to dial up a game, because if he can't do it with Jameis, then Jameis shouldn't be.
Here's how I feel. He dials it up. We throw a whole bunch of incompletions. Same thing happens. You're going to come in here and say, what the fuck was Carmichael doing? That's what would happen. So I think it's easy to say that. Of course, we want to throw down. We want to be successful too. And we just went through 10 minutes of how bad the offensive line is, and now we're talking about dialing up all these things downfield.
No, but, well, what I said in the beginning of that is if we say that the offensive line, because if the offensive line plays like shit, then obviously it doesn't even matter.
I love y'all's assumption
what
that
plays are called.
You're assuming the offensive line is going to be competent. They haven't been competent yet.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm directing that to Corey. They haven't been competent yet.
No, this whole discussion is if they are, because we all know.
I know, but that is like, well, if I win the lottery this week, I'm going to have a hell of a weekend. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, Max, we're projecting what could or might happen in a game, so we're all
we're
ifing this entire thing.
What out of the previous 4 weeks have you seen that gives you any indication that this offensive line is going to be adequate?
I'm not projecting them to be adequate. It's just that
you're building your whole assumption on them being adequate.
No, the only way we can even preview the offense is assuming the offensive line will be decent.
No, we can preview it and say the offensive line might still be trash and they're going to be awful this week.
If we say they're going to be trash and awful this week, then we lose and we cut the recording right now because that's your preview. Well, so we're saying
no. It doesn't have to be that short, but that could absolutely be the preview.
This whole premise though is okay because the whole 6 minutes of this recording we talked about how bad they've been, so we know they're bad. And I see no indication that they're going to turn this around this week. And then this discussion we got into, we said, okay, so let's just, for discussion purposes, for previewing the rest of the offense, everybody was, the other.
I'd rather be a realist about it and look at it and say Vita Vea is probably going to live.
Let's just pivot just a little bit. I understand what Corey's saying.
Do you want to talk about the other 6 players on the field or not?
I understand what you're saying, Corey, but let's pivot a little bit and just, instead of saying let's assume they're solid.
Right, we can talk about it without assuming that.
We make some mild improvement. The offensive line isn't a catastrophe.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying too.
You want to see us be super aggressive offensively, and
I just don't want to. It's not that I want to see us be super aggressive. I don't want to see us obviously holding back like we were a lot of the time last year. Last year, you looked at our offense, whether the offense was playing good or bad. I mean, the offensive line was playing good or bad. We were obviously holding back the reins.
There were 5 turnstiles in front of the quarterback. I don't think Carmichael's holding back right now. I don't like Carmichael as much as you don't like him, but at the end of the day, these guys need to be actual
But you agreed with me about last year where it was obvious that we didn't see the typical multiple sets.
The offensive line last year was not this bad.
That's what I'm saying. When we didn't have a Carr type of quarterback, or we didn't even have Jameis for most of last year, you and I, Max, agreed that you didn't see multiple guys going in and out. Substitutions, motion, because the offensive line wasn't nearly this bad. So we were frustrated that it's at least try to call different sets, rotate it a little bit, do some motion a little bit. Last year was an example of him obviously holding back. And there were some guys that I get it, like Trevor Siemian,
Siemian was the year before.
Well, he's an example too. But I just don't want to see him obviously holding back. Jameis is now.
I get your point.
He's been there too long.
I'm somewhere in the middle between you two and your standoff about Carmichael right now. I don't like Carmichael. I've been on record saying this, but at the same point, the offensive line, their performance is not enabling any offensive coordinator to have any creativity right now. They're
no offensive coordinator in the entire league.
Yeah, I don't care if it's Sean Payton, Mike McDaniel, Shanahan. Yeah. Ben Johnson in Detroit. It doesn't matter.
So I'll put it
Hold on. Yeah. Nobody behind this performance of the offensive line is going to be able to run the offense the way they want to run it.
That's fair.
What I want to see, and I think Nick brought it up earlier, Kamara, quick passes. Because right now these defensive linemen are teeing off on the offensive line.
Correct.
They are smelling blood in the water. They're going after it.
Yeah.
Quick hitters to Kamara. You know what I mean? Do some more motion with Olave, bringing him into the backfield. Do it with Shaheed. Hit him with some quick plays like that to make him fall off a little bit on the pressure.
Make the defense have to account for something different happening.
Now, I understand that we need to cover the entire offense, but they need to pivot what they're doing. And this kind of leans into the point I think you were trying to make, that we would like to see Carmichael be a little more creative with how he's handling the offensive line being complete ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. There's one thing Max and I were going back and forth on during the game, and Max was saying, I think we need a true offensive identity. I think Carmichael has shown you the identity he wants. He wants this offense to be about the receivers. He feels that's where we have an advantage. The numbers bear it out.
Well, he's right. Yeah.
Right. The numbers bear out that they are dominating.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think it's fair to say he has not adapted enough to the offensive line to be able to get the ball to those receivers enough.
Or consistently, anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Thomas is, he's catching 82% or something of his targets. Olave's over 80% of his targets. Shaheed's over 80% of his targets.
Yeah.
He's right. That's where our identity should be. We're giving secondaries fits. But if your offensive line's like that, you're going to have to do something. Something has to be sorted out between him and Doug Marrone to allow us to exploit that huge advantage that I think is the identity of our offense and should be the identity of our offense. Whether Juwan does it, we talked about it, and Corey especially said Juwan may have a very down year, whereas Max was saying, and I was saying, potentially he could have 70 catches. But if we're going away from Juwan and we're hitting the receivers at an 80-something plus percentage,
we have to protect.
We have to do that, and that's fine. We're okay with Juwan having 30 catches this year.
Yeah,
no problem.
You have to find a way to protect bottom line.
Right.
And to Max's point, I mean, they have to do something. If they don't do anything, if they're letting the guys get back there in less than 2 seconds, then it doesn't matter what you dial up.
Yeah, they can't keep doing what they've done the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
They can't. They have to do something different.
It would be the definition of insanity.
Exactly.
Doing the same thing, expecting different results, doesn't happen.
Exactly.
All right, so I think that pretty much covers exactly all of what we want to see on offense. We look to our defense with what they have in store this week. Baker Mayfield coming into the Dome. Mike Evans, the always must-see TV, get your popcorn ready. Mike Evans versus Marshawn. Round, whatever the hell it is. That's back in action this week, so excited to see that. Hopefully Marshawn continues his fatherhood duties over Mr. Evans. And, besides that, I don't know. Are y'all concerned too much about – do you see anything that leads you to believe that while – Evans and Godwin are obviously probably the best receiving duo we've faced so far this season. Do you see anything to believe that we should have any kind of worry about that?
No, I think, look, we're at home. Lattimore routinely makes it his mission to shut down Mike Evans. I don't see any reason why that's not going to happen this year. Lattimore is at the peak of his powers. Evans is having a good year, but at the same point, it should be the same old story. The difference this year is Adebo. Well, actually, Adebo is still out.
Yeah.
Probably looks like.
Probably will be out again.
Probably will be out. So we're looking at Alante and Yadam again. But look, they're 1, 2, and 3 in pass breakups. So
you literally couldn't ask for 3 better corners.
Yeah, and look, I feel like we kind of bagged on Yadam a little bit last week.
He was great until the fourth quarter. He was great.
He's done a great job.
Well, yeah,
all things considered.
That's the peril of defensive pass interference because, does one bad play make your entire quarter, half game a bad one?
No, but he gave up the touchdown. He gave up another long play. I'm not just referring to the penalty.
Okay, gotcha.
I think, but don't get me wrong. He did not play a poor game. He got eaten up a little bit in the fourth quarter, and that was it. He played pretty well.
As the whole defense, pretty much.
Yeah, Alante, like we said, played, which would have been one of the best games of anyone on the Saints roster this year if you take away that PI. By the end of the game, he was all over the field. Even the plays he missed, he was always in the right spot. And, if he plays like that again, I have to think he makes more of those plays.
I think the defense comes out with a chip on their shoulder. Those guys are embarrassed. The whole team's embarrassed. And you heard Alante Taylor talked about it in one of the post-game or the interviews the next day where he was like, we watched the film. We were pissed off after the game. We flew home. We watched the film. We got pissed off again.
Yeah.
These guys are going to be fired up.
Let's let Baker.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of shit I was hoping to hear some from the offensive line.
Well, you're never going to get that out of the offense in general.
And again, it's one of those fan hopes. It doesn't mean they're not throwing helmets inside the locker room, but you just, as a fan, sometimes you want to hear it. It was awesome to hear that because you kind of were like,
right, I need somebody on offense to say that shit, but we don't have anybody like that.
Yeah.
Kamara's probably the only one who you might hear something like that. Maybe Michael Thomas. The other ones are all a bunch of,
and then
they're kind of passive, quiet guys.
Carl will do it.
Who's that?
Carl will do it. He's come out multiple times saying, I've got to be better. We're winning it. The first
he
two
does
games.
need to be better.
Yeah, he does. He knows it. And he said, I will play better.
Yeah.
And I think he will.
Yeah.
I hope he does, man.
But real quick, back to the defense.
Yeah,
we were talking about Jameis, and I'm saying let's not let Jameis lose this game for us. That from a game plan standpoint, I'm not saying literally run it 40 times, but I'm saying let's not let that be the reason we lose the game, because I think that is not smart coordinating. Let's let Baker try and do something on our defense and see where we go. Let's put possessions out there and let's see if he makes those plays.
We have to pressure him, like the same pressure we've been getting so far this year. There can't be any let up on that, because, if you give Baker, I'm not saying, look, he's not one of these elite pocket passers, but if you just make him feel comfortable, kind of let him play with that, everybody loves to say it, but, it's fucking like worn out now. Well, Baker plays with a chip on his shoulder. Well, yeah, we know that. But if you let him bring in that swag that Baker Mayfield plays with, like if you, as cheesy as it is, like, that stuff bubbles up within him, and like that's him on his best day is when he feels like he could run down the field and celebrate and act like an ass, because Max knows how I feel about Baker and everything. When you allow that guy to be cocky and showy and like what has proven to be his natural self, as opposed to like when he's playing poorly, you see him pissed off, you see him like kind of crawl back within himself. If we let Baker play with confidence, then that's when Baker has the potential to, do pretty well. So I think we got to keep him off his game, keep him off balance, not let him feel confident. And I think that starts with the pressure. I mean, I think our DBs are going to hold up for the most part. Godwin's going to have his little 25-yard crossing route where he breaks the first tackle and runs another 10, 15 yards. That shit's going to happen. Mike Evans might even have a deep ball when he's not on Marshawn, get a mismatch. But if we keep Baker on his heels, I think our defense can have some fun.
To me, the key is shut down the running game, put it all on Baker, and honestly, the game plan for them is going to be the exact same thing. Shut down the running game, put it on Jameis, or hopefully Carr. But it's going to be mirror strategies from these two defensive coordinators.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of which quarterback makes the least mistakes and which team can get some semblance of a running game or some semblance of a short passing game to counteract it. Because Vita Vea, if he plays, and I think he was on the injury report last I saw, if he plays, he's going to fucking murder somebody on the offensive line.
It's going to be very bad.
And it doesn't matter if it's McCoy, Pete or Hurst or Ruiz. It doesn't even matter.
Like I've said before, with some of our offensive line play, they would do better just getting on the ground and rolling around instead of actually trying to block it. Just at least that way, he'd have to slow down to step over you. Just do a fire drill. If he's coming, just hit the ground, stop, drop, and roll. That'll make it actually harder for him to get to the quarterback than whatever the fuck they've been doing.
It cracks me up to think back to the season preview episode when you were trying to make the analogy about the two-face offensive line.
Yeah, because they're both the two. We thought it was going to be two-face.
Yeah, no. I told you that. I was like, I don't know, man. This might be. It is not two-faced. It is. They all have the same face.
Yeah,
and we haven't. The face of doom.
Yeah, we haven't seen Harvey Dent at all. On any side of the. Maybe Ramchecking the first game, but
it still has the talent on the line to be decent. It
has the talent on the line to be fucking great.
Yeah. So I'm not going to give up on it. I just.
Yeah, well, we
can't because it's going to be a long season if we give up on them in week 4.
Do we know?
We're about to sink way back down into that black hole.
No, but do we know if Ruiz is playing or not?
We don't know yet. It was DNP on today's Thursday's injury report. But back to the defense and the injury report. Howden, again, was DNP at practice with a, quote, finger injury. It's looking more and more like Lonnie Johnson's your guy. Even Tyrann Matthews' press conference today from the locker room, he was talking about Lonnie being on the other side of him. I
don't mind that. Lonnie's fine.
No, and Tyrann has some good things to say. Like, it was kind of funny because somebody mentioned what Johnson had told them, and they said he said he's kind of scared of you a little bit. Like, and Matt, the Honey Badger, was like, "Oh yeah, I get on him. He's like, I don't hold back. I tell him when he's wrong. He's like, I'm kind of like an extension of the coaches. I get on him." And
I'll be honest, I'm fine.
It was cool to hear.
That's fine.
Yeah, and-
he's got some experience. He's still, what is he, a 3 or 4 year veteran, big guy. He's fast as hell. He had an interception last week. Got no problem with him playing.
Yeah, Joe Woods said he's built.
No safety is going to be on these receivers. Like Lattimore is going to be on Evans.
Right.
And the other corner, whether it's Alante or whether it's Yadam, is going to be on Chris Godwin.
I think defensively versus their offense, I think we match up pretty damn well against this squad. I think their offensive line has some holes in it. They lost a couple of Pro Bowlers this past year, whether it be departures or injury. I think we can continue to keep pressure on them, especially like that interior pressure, Brzee, even Shepard, Saunders. But yeah,
wait, did you say Shepard and Saunders and you didn't say Brzee?
He did say Brzee.
Okay, just making sure.
He did.
Man,
He's ready to pounce.
Max is ready to pounce.
Max is so protective of his child.
I am very protective of Brzee.
Of course you are. That's why I said his name first.
Right, just making sure.
Anyway, but I think the matchups are great on defense. It just comes, like we said before, for some games, it comes down to execution. And also to Nick's point from last week, the offense can't. If we go 3 and out every play, there's only so much the defense can do. Any defense can't be on the field for 45 minutes of a game and expect to hold up.
Let me say this, though. Cam Jordan, loved the guy, was non-existent last week.
Yeah.
DeMario Davis, for all of his amazing just play, was basically a non-factor as well. I think he only had 3 tackles.
Yeah, 3 tackles from him is a head scratcher.
The one that hurt was the missed tackle at the goal line.
Yeah.
It's a tackle we've seen him make so many times.
So
he over pursued.
The point I'm making with this is that the two of them basically took last week off. That's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row.
Well,
so I would expect Cam to have. I would expect Cam to bounce back and have a good game. I would expect DeMario to be DeMario.
They didn't take it off. They didn't decide, we're going to play less hard this week.
Cam was playing against a backup.
So you're saying he took a vacation day? Cam Jordan?
No, I didn't say he
took a vacation
day. I said he basically, when you have 0 tackles, you basically had the week off, Corey. I didn't say he did it on purpose, but he basically had the week off.
When you say players take off, it's like when they take snaps off, and we criticize guys like when they're coming out of the draft.
He did not play well. I mean,
he did not play well.
They didn't play well. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you there.
So he might as well, let me clarify, I'm sorry, he might as well have taken the week off.
Yeah, it would have the same effect on the field. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would expect the two of them to bounce back this week. Yeah. I don't see Cam having 0 tackles. He's home in the Superdome. He's going to get a sack, at least 1 sack.
Right.
DeMario is going to have a couple of impactful plays in the run game and the passing game.
Yeah.
We just need whoever is on the other side. Granderson, earn that contract, step up.
Yeah.
Let's get a sack.
He actually played pretty good this game.
No, he did. He did. He was
he
fine.
had some good plays, even some good run stops. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know your feelings on Cam and DeMario, so I was about to say, I know you're not questioning their effort. But
no, I wasn't questioning their effort. I was questioning the stats, and I was saying they might as well have taken the week off.
You're right. Yeah, their performance was subpar, beyond subpar for their standards.
Look, the reality is, if you looked at the injury report going into last week's game, and we can all listen to the pod from last week to hear it, they were missing left tackle, starting corner, starting wide receiver, starting running back. Like, this should not have been a game. And then watching them play the Lions tonight, like, Jordan Love looked fucking inept. He looked like a high school quarterback that was thrown into an NFL game.
He looked very similar. They looked very similar from last week. He looked inept in the first half, and then in the second half, the difference was we didn't have anybody to keep moving the ball.
What pissed me off more was seeing how easily the Lions just went through the Packers defense and seeing how hard it was for us to even get a goddamn
there's creativity in the Lions play calling. They have one of the brightest young minds in the league.
Brings me back to my earlier point.
Right, we're still holding on to the Sean Payton era for some fucking reason. Like,
we
haven't touched on this yet. The fact that Traquan Smith gets
we didn't even
released from injured reserve, and immediately the next day is in Denver for a tryout.
Love it.
It's the funniest shit ever.
Yeah.
Because, we all called it. You could all see it coming. And it's just like we're just determined to hold on to the last little, threads of the Sean Payton era on
I don't know,
offense.
that's
Like,
fair.
fucking give it up, man. Like,
They
just be
traded
done with
Lutz.
it.
They traded Trout. Man, I mean, I don't think you can say that we're desperately trying to hold on to.
I mean, we're holding on to these retreads. Kirkwood, Traquan, Tony Jones.
We got rid of Traquan.
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, we got rid of Traquan this week. We still have Kirkwood on the team. We still have Tony Jones on the team. Like,
But
goddamn
Kirkwood
it.
wasn't on the team when Payton left.
I don't know, and I'm not just trying to be contrarian here, Max, but I don't know that two backups, one of them being a four string, is desperately holding on to the past. When you look at
Traquan, who sadly would be third string if he was healthy.
would he have been if they released him?
They want him to be third string. They fucking love him because he's actually a force in the running game. He can actually block.
Well,
He still would have been our fourth
to
receiver.
use one of your favorite terms, I don't think we can litigate what Traquan would have been.
You're missing
He's
my
gone.
point.
He's gone
My
now.
point is we're still holding on to these guys.
But I'm
just
thinking I don't
get
think-
rid of these guys out of here. Like, why is Carmichael still here? Like, bring in some fresh ideas. We don't need to try to recapture 2006. Like, that era is gone. And Nick's going to love this, but you're seeing it with Russ Wilson right now in Denver. Like, Peyton and Carmichael, they had this guy, this obvious Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer in Drew Brees, who could process anything that was given to him. And they're still trying to run this offense. And Peyton would, a probable Hall of Famer in Russ Wilson. Russ Wilson cannot process this shit. What did Peyton have to do this past week? He had to shorten the play calls for Russ Wilson this week to streamline it for him.
And they get beat by 50.
Right. You know what I mean? It's like cars hold on to the ball a little bit too long. Like, this offense isn't for anybody other than Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the only fucking quarterback that has ever proven he can run this offense on any of these teams.
And that still holds true. You're right. You're right about that. I mean, but I don't think it's inherently a bad offense. I mean, I think you've seen flashes.
Corey, I didn't say it was a bad offense. I'm
not
just
saying-
saying that
I'm
they're
not saying
And you're
expecting.
also,
I'm not saying you
also
said
you're
that.
talking about Derek Carr 2.5 games into this offense,
Yeah.
and Russell Wilson's 3 games into this offense. I don't
think
know that
we haven't even given a guy. Yes, you could. It hasn't been proven that any other quarterback besides Drew Brees is capable. But hold on.
Carr's going to be dead by week 6
Well,
if he makes it back before
that
them.
doesn't have to do with the
line.
offense, though.
Just like we can say no other quarterback besides Drew Brees can run this offense besides Jameis Winston. I mean, what other quarterbacks have had a long stretch to be able to show they can run it? I mean, Teddy. I mean, obviously, like there's a smaller playbook for him coming in as second string, but he didn't lose a game. So like.
But he also wasn't
He
running
didn't
the
win
offense.
a game. Let's be honest.
It was the game manager version of the
We all
offense.
love Teddy, but
Okay.
let's just be honest and say
The
that.
offense was-
hold on. Let's be honest and say that Peyton at that point pivoted and scaled it back and said, hey, let's just make this guy a game manager. The defense is going to win some games.
So-
Same thing with Jameis, where Peyton was the ultimate. He put a governor on Jameis. The governors you see on
it was
go-karts?
obvious. You could tell.
That was not Jameis.
Yeah.
In any
Okay.
form or fashion in that season when he had, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions?
His 5-2
To
start.
start off, 5
Yeah, he
and 2,
ended with
whatever
like
it was to
14
start.
and
Yeah.
14.
No, when he started off with the 5-2 and ended up like
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was
but-
Jameis with a governor on it. Like that was not in any way what Jameis wanted to do. Peyton knew he's like, this guy cannot do what I want to do out of an offense, so I need to rein him. It's like taking a fucking stallion and cutting his legs off. It's like, no, this guy, he has to be.
Oh yeah, we could feel it as fans. We're like,
Stallion's
if
aggressive.
we as fans wanted to push the pedal, we could almost feel the governor ourselves. Hitting.
And it had to be done.
It had to be done. But I mean, yeah, I agree with Nick though. It's way too early to say that the offense can't be humming with Carr. Because he had 2 games.
No, it's obviously way too early. But
2.5
I'm just saying, it's just the
I don't
early.
think-
The early returns, and the problem is the offensive line is impacting this way too much because these guys are not giving any. No, it doesn't matter if we have prime John Elway, prime Dan Marino. It doesn't matter at this point because the offensive line.
Well, here's my problem with this narrative at all. Before the season, we all said this offense was going to struggle for weeks. We all said it. We get in it. We have to watch it. We can't handle it. It's because we're so emotionally invested in it. The truth is, we knew it was going to look like this. It has.
we didn't think it was going to look this bad.
I didn't think the O line would look.
I didn't think the
this
I
bad.
thought
We
the
did not
offensive
think
line
that.
would be able to run block.
I'll be the first to say I did not think the O-line
Yeah.
would look this bad. I'll be the first one.
I'll be the second.
But the offense itself, we said we were going to struggle in the red zone early. We said there were going to be, communication issues. We all said it. But then when we're living it, we want to pretend that we didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, but time out.
We're 3 games in, 2.5 of those games, we were the better team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, should we have scored more points? Absolutely. Could the offense be 100%?
You know how many more points we had to score in the second half of the last game?
2.
Yeah. If
we score a field goal, if we don't miss the field goal, we probably still win.
Now, that might
game.
be an unfair comment because Jameis came in after not receiving any reps. I get all that. But, like, just 2 points. Like, just,
yeah, but even with 2 points, it would have been a minute and 40 seconds. Like, if
I'm not saying
Ruby
when they
nails
had
that
to score
kick,
them.
there's still a minute and 40 seconds.
Very
left.
likely we don't win the game, but I'm just saying you don't know that. We have the lead. And why are we not bagged on that a little bit?
Maybe Groupie really is possibly the next greatest Saints kicker because he knew what was coming. He did us all a favor. Groupie's like, hey, I've studied this franchise. I know what's about to happen. I'm going to do y'all a favor and just miss this fucking kick wide right.
That's your best take in a couple episodes. I'm going to tell you.
It's like, I'm going to help y'all. I'm going to do y'all a solid, not get y'all's hopes up, and just end it right here.
Yeah, and let me say this. Like, yes, we did agree that the offense would struggle coming out of the preseason since the preseason has been shortened to 3 games, and week 1 is essentially week 4 of the preseason. And I'll say, you know what? Carr played basically 1 series in the preseason, so throw in another game for struggles and adjustments or whatever. But my God, none of us could have predicted the offensive line being this inept.
No way.
I agree with that 100%.
Like, these guys are so bad. It's like you took the caricature of Andres Pete that every Saints fan has in their head of him just being a turnstile, or the worst of Cesar Ruiz, and you combined it into this like super shitty version of that and multiplied it by 5. Like, that's what these guys are.
Like,
right
remember
now.
the Now That's What I Call Music CDs?
Yeah.
It was like the best, whatever the opposite of that is. Like, if
It's
someone
the Saints
came out,
offensive line.
like the VH1 specials and, you know, dating ourselves here or whatever, but like when it was like the worst of the whatevers and you had all these like C-list comedians talking about how bad this and that was. It's like that's what's happening for our O-line, and it's just like cringe to watch it, you know?
It's terrible to watch.
It's just, yeah, the cringe. That's what the kids say.
No, it's worse than that.
Worse than
like cringe. I'm like, that's bad. This is like, what the fuck are they doing?
You wish they were even.
I wish they were cringe.
Even mid, right?
Corey, I wish they were cringe. I wish they were cringe, dude. Because cringe is worse than mid.
I love hearing Max use the Gen Z terms. It's funny.
No, I mean, it's like...
I mean, cringe is more transferable.
It's funny
across
every
generations.
time Corey tries to get away from this offensive line discussion, Max just brings it back.
I really am.
No, but I'm not going to let him say, "Oh, you know, assuming this happens this week."
This is a podcast. We say assuming 1,000 different things and then talk about it. Like,
But you're going to say the one thing that has been the constant, and you're going to assume it's just going to flip.
no, it's not. I'm saying an assumption is different from a hypothetical. Like, if their baseline, what has to happen next?
Their baseline is fucking down here.
No. If they're average against the Bucs, what do we look to next in terms of?
Dude, I would give my left nut for them to be average once right now. Okay. They haven't been close to average this year.
No, I agree with you. So let's try it one more time. Okay. So
this offensive line that has been just absolutely pathetic for the first 3 weeks. So for this preview, I'm going to go ahead and assume they're going to be average or above this week.
I'm not asking you to say they're going to be.
Well, that's what you're assuming, and your whole basis of the preview is built off of them being average or better.
I'm going to give this one last try because this has to be cringe to listen to. Okay. If the offensive line surprises you against the Bucs,
I'll be ecstatic. I'll be thrilled.
Okay, and if you are thrilled because they have surprised you and played better than cringe,
don't see it.
Better than cringe.
If that happens, then what position are you next looking to secure the victory for
quarterback?
Okay,
there you go. Quarterback.
God, we got there.
We got there.
We got there.
From that,
it's not going to get there. It's all about the offensive line.
All right.
So
moving past that.
Okay,
pause.
Let's go to predictions though. Let's go because that's a good segue. So
on the offense, Max will start it off for predictions for the game.
So it sounds like you think it's going to be a struggle.
It's going to absolutely be a struggle.
Okay, so who you got?
Cool. Yeah, let's go.
No, y'all go first.
All right, let you think about it. Nick, you go.
I'll go first. I'm going to say Taysom, 9 carries, 58 yards, a touchdown.
You're rolling straight in MVP. I thought you were going to go score first.
Oh, score?
It doesn't matter. You can do
whatever you want, but I was just, yeah.
I'm going to say we win 20-13.
Let me ask you
Bold.
this. So
It's
those
bold.
20 points, how many of those come from the special team or the defense?
7. We're going to get a pick 6 or a return.
Yeah,
We're going to
I
get
mean,
something on
Fair,
Baker.
fair.
All right, hold on.
I think we get multiple turnovers, and I think that's what leads to points as well. I
Fair.
don't think we're driving the field and going crazy. That's why I'm saying
Well,
Taysom.
You bring up a good point. The Bucs in their first 2 games were +5 in the turnover, and I think in the Eagles they were -2, something like that.
Well, we talked about it the way Max said
Eagles are the
Baker's
Eagles,
playing
yeah.
well. I said, yeah, it's an anomaly. We'll see what happens.
Well, 'cause
he's
the
going to
other-
revert. He's a turnover guy. He's going to give you chances. We got to take them. It's the same as Jameis. Jameis is
Yeah.
going to give them chances if they take them.
Jameis is an all-time turnover guy. Baker's not near that category.
We just got to hope that the Sean Payton governor is like zinging into his earpiece and his helmet. But I'll say this before I let you get back to your predictions. I mean, it's. Forgot what I was going to say. That's it.
Well,
I'm
hold
not gonna say
on. He
anything.
didn't tell us his defensive MVP.
All right,
haven't.
so
It's gonna be
20
Lat
20
because
to
he-
13.
You're saying Lat?
Yeah, it's going to be lap because it's Mike Evans' day.
He's going chalk.
Yeah.
It's like All Saints Day.
He
but
gets
for
so amped for these,
Lattimore.
man. He loves it.
2013, you said?
2013, yep.
Offensive is Taysom Hill.
With the touchdown, basically. That's it. Maybe on 10 touches, 6 yards a touch.
If you miss the 6 yards a touch average, I'm going to call you out.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good with it. So I'm saying it's going to be 8 or 9 carries, a couple catches, maybe a throw or 2. But he's going to have the lone offensive touchdown.
There we go.
We somehow get... I'll put it this way. We get a defensive touchdown or we get a defensive turnover like inside their 10. That is the difference.
If we
in
get
the
to
game.
20, are you saying we're going to multiple field goals?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So I'm going to go Taysom.
So
Scoring
you're
a touchdown.
assuming that Jameis starts.
I am. I'm assuming Carr's out. I would change my tune if Carr starts a little bit. I think if Carr starts, even with the offensive line, I think we probably win this one comfortably. Maybe not by a big margin, but like we feel in control of that game the whole way.
Well, that's if Carr starts and he's
And he's semi-normal. Right.
Semi-
Haven't felt
normal,
in control
like-
this whole year.
I think it's a Jameis game. I honestly,
Yeah,
I don't see.
I agree with that.
this whole year's been
I
a
think,
slog.
I think it's the one thing you and I have agreed on tonight. We've had a fun little night of disagreement here, Max.
We have that all the time. You have dumb
I don't
takes.
think it's an
We've been
This
accident.
whole
agreeing
year's
on-
been a slog.
Listen,
We've been
I don't
agreeing
think
on the
it's an
past few
accident. The
episodes.
2 games we won where Carr was in the game at the end of the game, winning the game. When he wasn't there,
Correct.
we got dominated. So there is a different level of quarterback play. The team stayed composed. We made the big play at the end.
Well,
we
wait.
did not do that.
Here's an idea. If it's like if he knows game time, whether or not the shoulder feels well, if he's good enough going the whole week without throwing a ball, maybe he's good enough going the whole week of practice plus 3 quarters. We bring him in baseball style with like Major League, the movie, the music's playing. Carr comes in the 4th quarter and wins the game.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It won't happen, but that'd be kind of funny.
There's just something about players who don't tighten up when it's the toughest, and he doesn't. He's had a great fourth
No,
quarter
he's
record.
great in the fourth quarter. He's great.
He's
a
not a
great point.
perfect QB, but that has never been his problem.
It honestly is the difference between us being 2-1 and 0-3.
Correct.
Is the fact that he made some clutch throws in the fourth quarter in the first 2 games.
There's a sense of like security or calmness in the 4th quarter when he's in there because he's proven, if nothing else, so far. I mean, it's 2 games, yes, but he plays loose under pressure.
Well,
but
what is he? He leads the
like-
league in fourth quarter comebacks
Yeah.
since he's been
Since he's
started,
been in the
right?
league.
But he's like he's loose. He's loose under pressure in a good way. Like he
He
plays
also
loose.
leads the
Plays
league
like
in
himself.
games played, which of course Saints luck. He's hurt right out the gate. But
Well,
since he came in the league, he's played the most games at quarterback than any other quarterback.
That brings me up to another very important point. Remember in the before the Rams playoff game that we won, they had the curse was whatever curse was on the Superdome was lifted by the voodoo priestess with the snake and all that stuff.
You're talking about the greatest show on turf one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So there was another call her voodoo queen, if you will, back then. But there was another queen who put on a performance in the Superdome this week.
Did you go last night?
I did not go, but Lizzie did.
Okay.
There was a queen bee. Beyonce put on a show in the Superdome
All right. I don't
last night.
Give us your-
so
give us
she
your
has
prediction.
lifted. We can maybe hope that Bey has lifted whatever's been holding us back, just like the voodoo priestess did.
That's a fucking terrible segue. Just give us a prediction.
The Rams. I'm trying anything here, Max.
Trying to make this game entertaining.
After what it looked like,
this is not entertaining.
You watched the second half last week. I'm trying anything here, man.
So who you got? Give it to us.
My score. I do. Fuck, man. I think our defense comes and plays pissed off. Number one, they're just pissed anytime they see Mike Evans and the Bucs. That gets them pissed no matter what. But I think they have a real bad taste in their mouth after the fourth quarter of not even the second half. The last 8 minutes, the Joe Woods press conference, they kept talking about the last 8 minutes.
Yep.
Where it really all went to shit. They were 17-3 with 8 minutes left. So they're pissed as all hell. They clearly held themselves. And this is just a take, but I think they hold themselves to a higher standard than whatever the fuck our offensive line is holding themselves to. They come in pissed off. Defense carries us. The offense is going to look like shit again, but I think we at least find a way to pull this one out. I'm going with like a 17 to 14 Saints win.
Good God, we were like on the same page with this. I
Yeah,
can't wait
I
to hear
mean,
your MVPs and see if it's the same as mine.
I don't think they will be, but here's the thing. I thought about this, when we were talking about 11 straight games now where we've held the opponent to 20 points or less, and it's like how it really doesn't seem that long ago at all. Maybe it seems too long ago where if you had looked at the Saints offense and said, can you just give us 3 touchdowns? Can you just give us 3 touchdowns and don't miss an extra point? That would have seemed laughable. And I'm not going to put it on. I can't predict our offense to score 3 touchdowns yet. I just can't. But if they do, we win going away. But anyway, I digress. Offensive MVP of this game is... I think the offensive MVP in this game is going to be Mike Thomas. Not because he's going to go light the scoreboard up, not because he's going to have 150-plus yards receiving, but with an offense that scores 17 points, with an offense that looks like shit, at some point we're going to have to get timely first downs, and he's going to be the guy you're looking for. The Bucs are going to come heavy with blitzes. They're a safety blitzing team, and when those safeties blitz, there's a big old gaping hole in the middle of the field, and Mike is, or you got a linebacker trying to cover Mike, and that ain't going to work. Even Devin White. So Mike Thomas gets a bunch of timely catches, maybe even gets up to 10 receptions with the short ones included. And Jameis seems to like Mike. So I'm going to go with that. My defensive MVP is going to be the Honey Badger. I think he, with his instincts, can exploit Baker Mayfield. And he's either going to be able to exploit Baker Mayfield with an INT, read him well, or when Baker gets out of the pocket, Honey Badger's just going to come up and pop him. He might even get a forced fumble. He's going to have one of two things: a forced fumble or an INT. The forced fumble is going to come when Baker tries to be too cute and not slide, and the Honey Badger's going to be like, "Thank you," take it from him, or pop it out. The INT is going to come if Baker's sitting in the pocket too long. Honey Badger reads his eyes, knows exactly what he's doing, jumps the route, picks it. Mike Thomas offense, Honey Badger defense.
All right, so to echo your sentiment, the offense is going to suck again. I think we somehow scrape out 17 points. 1 touchdown will be by the offense. The other one's going to come either defensively or a special teams touchdown. The one offensive touchdown is going to be scored by the offensive MVP of this game, Juwan Johnson.
I hope you're right.
He has been non-existent for the first 3 games. He's going to come alive this week. Jameis likes him. We'll get, and even if it's Carr, I don't care who plays quarterback, we're still going to score 17 points either way. Juwan Johnson will have the lone offensive touchdown. The Buccaneers will score 16 points. It's going to be
almost at 16.
It's going to be 3 field goals and the 1 touchdown. Defensive MVP, I think the easy choice would be Marshawn. I'm going to go off the grid a little bit and say Alante. I think this is the week Alante gets the interception, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of his interception goes for a touchdown.
Ooh. Maybe like when the Bucs are backed up on their own 10-yard line or something like that.
I just feel like he's due, and he played so well last week, with the exception of the pass interference call. I feel like he's due. He's been so close over the course of his career. This is going to be the week where we see a pick six or a fumble six. One of those two things happens. Juwan Johnson gets the other touchdown. There's a field goal worked in. We win 17-16. Another slog where we're watching the game, and it's just fucking painful to watch. We're waiting for this explosion that's never going to happen, and it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, you're right. Do you think our fans boo the Saints anymore?
No, because the defense is going to be...
Because we heard that from the Packers tonight.
There's a difference because the Packers were getting just the shit kicked out of them at halftime.
If the offensive line allows like 4 sacks in the first half...
Oh, the offense is going to get booed.
That's what I mean. Like the team or something.
The team is not going to... Like, they booed the Packers coming off the field.
Do you think there's going to be like a series where the offense is coming off the field and the fans are...
Yeah, I think the offense will get booed at some point. But the defense at no point will get booed.
Maybe that's something else we can add to the predictions for home games. Boo or no boo.
No, I mean, there's a difference, though. There's a difference between, like, when you're going off the field at halftime, they're not going to get booed.
Yeah.
But after an individual series where they give up like a sack or two or another negative play or have a penalty, they're going to get booed.
That's when our fans come out with it. Yeah. Right. No, our fans are good
we
enough to
won't boo the whole team, though, because the defense is going to play well.
I'll give that to our fans. They're, I think, save for like the Mike Ditka, certain Haslett era days, like we're not booing the fan. We're not booing the team when they come.
I'm booing the two of you because you're both going to be watching on TV, right? Assholes.
With my twin daughters, but I mean, I don't have the club level tickets yet to put them in the nice seats, Max. I can't. I'm not saying.
I mean, you keep buying these fucking preseason tickets. Why don't you buy some regular season tickets and not waste money on the preseason?
I went to the Titans game.
Okay,
I'm going to Jaguars game. Going to the Bears game.
Okay.
So
ease up.
We're getting there.
Ease up.
Come on, man.
Save that money from the preseason next year.
It was like this preseason was cheap.
It's a waste.
I love being in the dome. It's fun.
I think that's enough.
Enough what? Come on, man.
In case we were not clear,
we got at least 20 more minutes.
Our offensive line is not very good.
Oh, you said it again. Oh, man.
Well, that wraps up.
Let me say this, though. I do think that Andrus Peat will be an improvement this week. I'm going to go ahead and assume he starts. That seems to be where it's trending. And I do think the running game looks a little bit better than it has.
Do you want to change your offensive MVP to Andrus Peat?
No. It's still going to be bad, but I think the running game looks a little bit better. Like they're like they upgrade themselves to anemic this week.
Wait, what's below anemic?
What we've been the last 3 weeks?
Oh, I'm looking for an adjective.
Fuck. Abomination. Shit.
I think that's a noun.
That's a noun. Yeah.
That's fine. It's same
fucking
purpose.
Awful. Is that what for you?
Same purpose. Okay.
All right. Well, that was a long-winded episode about the Tampa Bay Bucs.
We had a lot to talk about.
At least we're all optimistic a win is going to occur this weekend. So,
well, are we ever going to pick a loss?
We will.
I don't think we will.
We will. It's coming.
Just
let us get
You're looking at something like you know it's coming.
Let us get a little sadder. And the losses will be predicted.
I was really close to going L on this one, but it's still the Bucs.
I almost did it last week.
I almost did it this week.
Depending on our future performances, L predictions might be coming.
Yeah. To be fair,
I hope they don't.
We probably should have. We would have won last week, and we'd all been 100% right so far, if not for that injury.
Yep.
So let's not slam us yet.
I'm not ready to slam us. I don't think. I'll slam. You know who I will slam? We haven't really talked about it much yet, but the
Trevor Penny.
the O line.
O line, not so good.
Oh God, don't make me say it again. Okay.
Well, thanks for listening again, and we'll catch you after the Bucs game next week.
All right. Who dat?